Hey guys, welcome to Keep On Pushing TV. Yeah, man, I am your host, Devonharris. And as always, what we do is that we share ideas and insights that are going to challenge you and inspire you to keep on pushing and live your absolute best life because we want that of you, for you, and from you. So if that's something you want from yourself as well, you know you're in the right place. So once again, welcome to Keep On Pushing TV. My guest today was born in Ghana, West Africa, migrated to the United States at the age of 8, and somehow found himself as part of a gang. Somewhere along the line, though, he got himself on the right path, graduated from college, and now he sits atop a multinational financial services company, advising, helping various companies with their financial needs, but at the same time, providing financial literacy education across the globe. I am so excited to get to know and to introduce you to our guest today, Jeff Badu. Jeff, welcome to Keep On Pushing, bro.
Yeah, thank you, Devin. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you on. So, um, tell us a little bit about your company before we even get to know the man behind the machine.
Yeah, so ultimately, I'm the founder and CEO of Badu Enterprises LLC, which is a multinational conglomerate in the finance industry. What we do is we provide a suite of financial services to businesses and individuals. So our marquee company is Badu Tax Services, which does tax preparation, planning, and representation for individuals and businesses across all 50 states in the U.S. We have clients in over 15 countries at the moment. Um, on top of that, our second biggest company is Badu Investments, which is primarily my real estate investment company. And we do multifamily rental property investments primarily on the south side of Chicago, non-distressed neighborhoods. We also have investments in Ghana, and we're always looking to expand. But right now, our focus is on the Chicago market on the south side. And so we can buy apartment buildings anywhere from 10 and above units. And we basically go in there, we get to know the tenants, we get familiar with them, and we make sure we build a great community of something that's sustainable, something that's not toxic. Because I know in the landlord tenant world, it's known to be a bit toxic, but in this world, we're friendly with the tenants. They can reach out to us anytime for anything that they need. And ultimately, they pay their rent on time. If they're having trouble paying rent, then we offer them different assistance programs, such as the COVID-19 programs that have come out recently. So those are the two main companies. And then there's 10 other companies, which include the Badu Foundation. That's the Financial Literacy Foundation that helps basically educate the youth and homeless group with financial literacy resources and knowledge and things of that nature. So across the company, there's 12 businesses within it, across about 20 different entities. And Badu Enterprises is a centerpiece that's basically controlling everything.
Indeed. So, that is an impressive place to be for a 26-year-old, Jeff. Take us back because I wanted people to get a snapshot of where you are now, but I'm always interested in the journey, man. So let's go back to Ghana where you're born. I know you spent, only 8 years there or so. What do you remember about life in Ghana?
Yeah, so I was originally born and raised in Ghana. I'm from the Ashanti region, which is a small. It's a popular region, but ironically, it's actually a pretty small region that's in Ghana. And yeah, I mean, I was born in a village called Asam, ASAM, and ultimately, was able to migrate to the city where my parents were living. So I lived in the village for about a year or so, and then was able to move to the city when I was about between 1 and 2. And crazy story, but I actually broke my leg at the age of 2. Literally, my leg almost snapped in half because I fell, like I was chasing after somebody and I fell in the gutter. And so I had a major surgery when I was 2 years old. They told me I would never walk again or never be able to be fit or anything like that. But I was able to make it out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the biggest challenge up until that point that I had to deal with. And yeah, literally a 2-year-old who barely known life, next thing you know, breaks his leg and has
Yeah.
to recover from that. You know?
So yeah, that's a big hurdle to cross at that age. Did you get involved in sports? Did you have siblings? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so from let's say about 2 to 8, that's when I moved to the city. Um, and my older sister actually was still in the village. Um, she was not necessarily in the village that I was born, but she was close by. So she was living there at that time, and we didn't really communicate with each other a lot. I don't know. It was kind of weird whenever I transitioned. It was like I would get away from certain family members, and we don't communicate, even though it's close family.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, as far as what I went through, yeah, I was a pretty decent kid in school. Had pretty good grades. I did play sports just occasionally, nothing too not competitive sports or anything like that. But soccer is very big in Ghana, so that's something
Okay.
that I was playing with
So
my
I'm
friends.
trying to remind me of the soccer team. Are they called the Lions?
We're called the Black Stars, actually.
Oh no, the Lions are from Cameroon, the Black Stars.
Yeah, the
So
Ghana
dude,
Black
you didn't
Stars.
want to join the Black Stars, man? What's going on?
No, I actually wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid, and
Right.
then I quickly found out that I was afraid of heights. And so what I did, also a few things that I did at that time was I started gaining that hunger for entrepreneurship. So anytime, let's say it was like Christmas or a holiday and people gave me candy bars, instead of eating them myself, I would actually go out and sell them to people. And that was like my first introduction of just making money or just hustling in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that business mentality. And I was like, wow, I can get used to this. I mean, give me the stuff, I'll sell it, and ultimately I can make a profit. Right?
Yeah.
And in this case, I had no cost because it was given to me. So,
Exactly. So let me before I touch on that, let me go back to like your sister, because you said you'd move away from even close family members and didn't stay in touch. Was that because of, I mean, a lack of cell phones or phones? What do you attribute that to?
I mean, definitely that. Definitely didn't have a phone back then, for me personally. But I just think so. Here's what happened. I moved to the city, and then all of a sudden, my dad wins the immigration lottery to come to America. So what happened there was he had to actually he got migrated to the UK first. So the UK was where he won the immigration lottery. He's actually one of the first Ghanaians to ever come to the UK due to the immigration lottery. So he was able to migrate there. And then what he did was I guess he didn't feel the opportunities were there enough. He was washing dishes and just doing a lot of handyman stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so he decided to go back to Ghana, reapply for the immigration lottery, and then he won to Chicago. And so he moved to Chicago and he was living there for a few years. And then after that, he was able to send some money back to my mom. He was able to apply for green card for her and everything like that. And so she won the immigration lottery through, I don't know if it's an automated process or just one of those processes where your spouse is already here, so now you're coming here. So she was able to go there. So for about 4 years of my life, I actually did not live with my parents. They were just coming to visit me back and forth. So I lived with my aunt. So with that, my sister, she decided to stay where she was born, which is a village called Mampong, which is close to where I was born. So I think that one was just a personal preference for her. She was also much older than me at the time. When I was 8, I believe she was 16.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of knew how to get around, and she had already been through life. And she was also, her school at the time was also there, so she didn't want to move schools. So just because I migrated to the city, doesn't necessarily mean she also wanted to migrate to the city. So I think it was just more of a personal preference.
Yeah, understood. So what was it? I mean, it's such against a natural instinct of a child to get candy bars and not eat them. I know if I got candy bars, they'll be devoured before anybody can go candy. But you chose to sell them. What was it you think about you that goes, hey, instead of eating these things, I could actually go make money?
I think it's a mentality. both of my parents are entrepreneurs. So my dad, as he was making money overseas or in the U.S., he was able to send it back and buy land. So he did some land acquisitions, and then he started building real estate on top of it. And same thing with my mom. My mom was doing some retail stuff, and she was also doing some land acquisition. So just watching them or just hearing about it was like, you know what? Maybe I can go out and make some money on my own too. I may not be able to buy real estate, but I've heard of a thing called money that you can make when you sell something. So for me, I found any means to make money. Candy bars. At a certain point, I was ironing clothes for like family members, and I was like, "Hey, can you pay me?" So I think that hustle mentality got to me early when I was like 5. That's when that mindset sort of came from the influence that I was around, and then also finding more about money. And for some reason, I just felt that I needed more money.
Yeah. So what was let's say the biggest thing you bought as a result of your entrepreneurial efforts back
As
in
a kid.
Ghana and as a kid?
So I used to buy a lot of kebabs, the meat on a stick.
Right.
So I was a big like beef kebab guy, and like literally when I made the money or if my parents gave me money, the first place I would go to is a local like bar over there where they sell kebabs, and I would just buy like 10, 20, 30 at a time. It was crazy. So literally about 70% of my money actually went to kebabs. Now, had I known that I can save money, invest money, make more money from it, I probably would have only done 20% kebabs, maybe 80% investments. And that's where the Badu Foundation comes in handy, because I want to teach these kids these concepts that I didn't learn at an early age.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking that the kebab guy was making off like a bandit from your efforts of selling chocolate bars. So, so you moved to the U.S. and you despite that entrepreneurial thinking, you end up in a gang. How did that happen?
So yeah, I moved to the U.S. when I was 8 years old. I came here with my older sister. We were put on a plane, I believe it was KLM at the time, and ended up in Chicago. Literally, it was just us two. It was 2001, August 14, 2001 was when I arrived in Chicago. Ironically, it was my 8th birthday. And of course, September 11, 2001, that was 9/11. So it was a huge, I'm like, holy cow, I come to a place where it's opportunities, it's great. Next thing you know, it gets destroyed. So it was a bit of an eye opener. But overall, we were put into Uptown. Uptown is a neighborhood in Chicago that at the time, especially back in the 2000s, like early 2000s, it was pretty rough. It was surrounded with gang activities, neighborhood or rival gangs essentially. And unfortunately for me, I literally met friends that were a part of it. So in the Uptown community, that's basically the only people I was introduced to. I mean, I wasn't introduced to a family, a wealthy family with a kid that was on his way to a good path. Like I was introduced to people that were looking to make ends meet, and they were just confused. They didn't know what to do because of such negative influences. So what happened was that I started becoming friends with them. So started becoming friends with them, and then over time, I basically was put into their system as well. Like I became a part of them out of nowhere. And I think that one was a bit unconscious. It was one of those unconscious moments where you don't know what you're doing. You're talking to your friends. Next thing you know, you see a gun on their hip. Next thing you know, you see drugs. You see all these things. And you're like, oh, okay, well, what am I doing? And then naturally, they force you to do some of these things too. So that's basically what happened there. It was just surrounded around the wrong people, or basically people that their mindsets weren't basically where they needed to be. And ultimately, as these friends, so I was hanging around with them almost every single day. And whatever activities they were involved with, I also had to be involved with it, or I looked like the guy who was the enemy at that point. So if there was a chase, if there was a fight, if there was anything that involved us coming together and fighting against other groups, I had to be a part of that too, because these were my friends. These are the people that protected me. These are the people that looked out for me. But the thing was, we all didn't know a better way of life because we were just surrounded by that. So unfortunately, between from about 8 up until 16, when I went back to Ghana, it was very, very toxic to the point where even thought about committing suicide at some points in life. Just didn't know. I mean, I was lost and almost even went to juvie or went to jail about twice in my life. And my mom had to bail me out. Like I was literally on my way to the jail, and my mom somehow showed up, paid whatever money needed to be paid. We call that a bail, you know, informal bail we'll call it. And so it was rough. I mean, these were some bad kids,
Right.
that we just all unfortunately were just moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about your parents and you know how they felt about you being part of it. Did they know you were actually part of the gang, or just thought like the time when your mom had to bail you out that you just kind of got caught up in that one moment?
Yeah, so they did not know. They actually didn't find out until last year when the story came out when I gave my testimony. So they did not know about it. They knew I was hanging out with friends that might be involved with it, but then again, in their mind, I think they should have been thinking, well, okay, well, if 8 out of 10 of his friends look like, feel like, and appear to be like they're involved in it, well, what makes you think that he's not involved with it as well? So I think at that time, maybe there could have been some more sitting down and more like, you know, just saying, hey, what's happening here? So I just feel like the conversations just weren't there enough. I was getting good grades in school, so I think that's one thing that sort of, in a way, protected me from revealing that to them. But yeah, I mean, they, like my uncles were saying things to them. So I think, and at times they did like, you know, ground, punish, and all of that stuff for me, but I just don't think they knew how deep it was at that time.
What advice would you have for parents who find themselves in a similar situation like your parents did, where maybe they have a child, son or daughter, who probably is getting good grades in school, and you don't normally associate those kinds of academic performances with gang members. But as you say, you know, 8 of your or 10 of your friends kind of look like they're, you know, heading on the wrong path. What advice do you have for those kinds of parents?
I mean, my advice is to really monitor your child and see, first of all, they say, show me your top 5 friends and I'll show you who you are. So look at their top 5 friends. You can literally ask them, like, hey, Jeff, who's your top 5 friends? Show me them. And basically, the moment you know their names, of course, they're coming by the house. They're seeing you hang with them when they pick you up from school or something like that. So just ask questions. I guess be curious as to what do you guys do on a daily basis. What are some of the things that you're involved with in school? Just ask these questions. Eventually, something is going to come out of it. And the moment you find out that your child is involved in something like that, maybe just give them some word of advice. Say, this is the path. This is what can happen if you remain on this path. But here's what can happen if you go on this path. And of course, that parent has to know what that other path feels like. Because if they don't know, then that's a problem. And I think that's what a lot of parents are going through today. They don't know that better path because they might have only been on that bad path. Luckily for my parents, they knew the better path. I just think that they weren't necessarily, you know, they weren't verbal with it and saying, hey, this is what can happen when you go on. Yeah, they were doing real estate and I was seeing them do good work, but really sit down with me, have counseling and have mentoring sessions with me. I just think that didn't necessarily happen. And I don't necessarily blame anybody or anything like that either. I just think that they thought that I was a quote unquote good kid.
Right.
I was getting good grades. However, the people that I was around should have triggered a little bit that, hey, you know what, this person might not be on the best path. So let me pull them to the side. Maybe if I can't do it, let me find a mentor, somebody who you can look up to. So yeah, I mean, if I was in that situation, if I was the parent, I would really monitor my child, see who their friends are, and basically show me who your friends are, and I'll show you who you are.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that here it is that you're part of a gang. As I said earlier, you don't associate gang members with getting good grades. What was it you think that was different about you? Why didn't you, for want of a better term, go all the way and, being part of a gang and just slack off in school as well?
I mean, I think it was part of the fear that we didn't want to do certain. For example, there are certain things that you just didn't do, or you just didn't want to do. Like if you hear about X, Y, Z going to do this, and you're like, you know what, I'm out. Right, I'm just staying home. I got homework to do. So it was basically just knowing that there was the consequences. Basically, it was having in mind that, hey, if you go to the store and take X, Y, Z, well, there's consequences for that. And yeah, there were times where we might have did certain things like that, and might have gotten away with it. But then we heard news about people who were getting caught and going to juvie or jail for 5 years, 7 years, just silly crimes. And next thing you know, you end up in jail for a very long time. So just having the consequences in mind at all times. And then also just my parents, they did scold me a bit at times where, like, at first I wasn't getting the best grades. So when I first came to America, it wasn't the best. I had to go to summer school and everything. But then year 2, year 3, year 4, the grades got better over time. And so, yeah, I think for me, although, I was involved in some of that stuff, I decided not to go all in because of the consequences involved. And then also just seeing that there just might be a better path out there if we at least keep the grades up.
What was it that you thought you were getting from being part of the gang?
Protection was one. And a sense of identity or a sense of belonging. That was another one. And yeah, just basically being a cool guy. It was just something that just looked cool. Like, hey, these group of people, they're all wearing the same colors. They're all, doing their own handshakes. They're all basically ganged up and they're protected. Like, you don't want to mess around with them. Right. And so for me, that was basically what I felt during that time. Which, I mean, it was a complete myth because at the end of the day, everybody's still looking out for themselves. And I mean, these are all people that their mind is not necessarily in the best place. So they can do anything at any time to you, no matter what.
Yeah. So you got some advice, I think, or talking to from your aunt that got you to really switch directions. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I went back to Ghana when I was 16, and it was a trip that I took that really revealed a lot. It was just I thought it was just a family trip. Next thing you know, it became a very good trip as far as being an eye-opener, allowing me to see that I need to help more people, allowing me to see what true struggle really means. And I was like, you know what? I never, ever want to struggle. And the path that I was currently on, it was a path of loss. It was a path of just, I didn't know what I was doing. So I said, you know what? I want to turn it all around. And I ultimately want to make sure that I help people. So that was the thing. Like, seeing somebody struggle made me realize that I need to help that person as opposed to being a part of the struggle myself. So it was a light bulb that shined. It was that one moment, that turning point in life that says, wow, you know what? Maybe I need to turn things around. Maybe I need to start doing better.
Yeah. So what kind of struggles, what did you witness in Ghana when you went back at 16?
Yeah, so basically I saw, for example, a lady with 2 kids on her back, 2 babies on her back wrapped around, and she was carrying a huge load of bread just to make ends meet. And I'm thinking, well, this person is mentally hungry. They want something in life. So what I can do now is I just envision myself just being this like savior that was helping people. So I was like, you know what? Maybe if I take my skill, my entrepreneurship skills of learning, basically knowing how to make money with anything really, then I can maybe help this person instead of having to at least put the kids down and have somebody watch the kids, sell the bread or have a big bakery shop instead, as opposed to going on the street and selling them. Some people were sleeping on the floors. It was, in Ghana, at that time, it was very, very rural. Like now it's gotten a lot better. Our tourism and everything has increased. But back then, it was pretty bad. So I just saw that and I said, I just want to help people. So then I ended up coming back to the U.S. and that's where my aunt, she said, I basically went to her and shared my experience from the Ghana trip. And she said, yeah, you're ready to learn. So she basically became my mentor. And she took me under her wheel and she said, you know what? Here's certain paths. Here's how certain things can go. We picked out Bible verses. So I became very spiritual at that time too. I tapped into the spirit, which is, I believe, the number one reason why I was able to get out of that environment, that toxic environment, and become into a more well-rounded, positive environment. Just having that faith and that spirit. And then she was able to guide me on certain things. So she saw me with certain friends. Now she was the person that reached out and said, "Hey, you might just want to avoid that." Or if she heard I was going to a certain party and heard certain people were going to be there, you might want to watch out. We're going into even certain neighborhoods and certain people would be there. She probably said, "You know what? You might want to watch out just a little bit." So she just gave me that she was that bug in my ear that really gave me that advice and said, you might want to go on this path as opposed to that path. And then I started helping some of the youth members and helping them get better with the things that they were doing in life as well.
Yeah, so, they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And your aunt saw that you were ready. And so she was a willing teacher. I'm curious, your former gang members, when you decide to kind of break the bonds with them, as it were, how did they respond and how did you react to their response?
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, they responded pretty positively about it because they realized that, hey, he's found his path, he's found his way. Let's just let him basically do his thing. And I think the reason why is because they were also looking to, in a way, get out. At that time, at 16, some had died, unfortunately. Some had dropped out of school, so we basically lost contact, lost ties. Some stayed in school, but they were still involved in some of that stuff. And ironically, some just, they just weren't about that life anymore. So I think I was very lucky and fortunate where we were sort of splitting anyway. And things were, in a way, getting better in the Uptown neighborhood as well, just a little bit, not too much, but we were going through a gentrification process in Uptown. Now Uptown is heavily gentrified, actually. So for them, some did feel like, hey, I still, we still want to hang around. We still want to do the things that we were doing back then. But I was like, I found a better way for it. And I would hope that you're respecting that. And I need to be out of this. Whatever we're doing, let's just leave it at that. Let's wrap up whatever we need to do. And let's just leave it at that. So they understood it. And then naturally, some people I just lost communication with because I was gone for about 3 months. And so we just naturally was like, hey, where's he been at? Basically.
So just being away in Ghana for 3 months, that was, definitely would have caused you to lose that tight bond. And then you come back and you're on a kind of different path in terms of your thinking. So it made it easier.
Exactly.
Right. So college, and you studied what, finance or accounts?
So it was accounting. I got a bachelor's degree in accounting. 2010 through 2015 was when I went to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, studied accounting, got my CPA license in 2015. And at the time, I was actually working at PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC. And that was from about sophomore through senior year. I was an intern. And then I ended up starting full-time after my graduate year, and I was also studying for the CPA exam.
And at what stage did you then decide, hey, it's time to form Badu Enterprises?
Yeah, so that was an interesting story. So that's like the part 2 of my life where I became in 2010 was when I started building a business plan for Badu Tax Services. And basically...
So while you were in college?
Exactly. So when I was so after that 16 period, like when I was 16, we essentially were going through like career, because at that time, that's when it's like, hey, you might want to think about your career. So we were doing like career assessments, getting to know like mentors and leaders. And that also helped with the transition too, was just getting to know like-minded people. So we took a career assessment, and it came to my conclusion or my attention that I should study accounting. So I started doing more research about accounting, learning more about taxes and what I could do. I started doing like tax simulations. It was hard, and it was like, man, this thing is tough. But at the same time, I was like, you know what, this is something I can get used to. So I started doing more research. Fast forward when I got to college, that's where I started building a business plan for Badu Tax Services, and also Badu Investments, the real estate investment company as well. So the two simultaneous. I always knew that I was going to be a serial entrepreneur. I just didn't know when. My original plan was to work full-time for 6 years. I ended up working full-time for 1 year. So from 2010 through 2016, I was building the business plan. Every single day, I was doing research, adding on to the plan. And then in September 16th, ironically, Labor Day weekend was the weekend where I turned in my 2-week notice at PwC. So it's a very historical weekend for me, and I celebrate it every year. So I ended up turning my 2-week notice and then launched Badu Tax Services full-time. I at least formed the company on September 16th, 2016. And then on January, let's say around January 2nd, 2017, the following year, when we did the full launch, and that's when we actually got into business really at that point.
Mm-hmm. Were you, while you're at Price Waterhouse, were you, and you're building creating your business plan and looking to start your company, were you getting clients on the side, or did you just cut cold turkey?
Yeah, so I actually was getting clients on the side. I was family, friends, anybody who I can get my hands on the tax return. So in 2010, I had one client, which was a friend who started a company called Insway, Intellectual Swagger, was a full name. He was like, hey, I want you to be in my finance department. I want you to handle the taxes. It's a brand new company. We'll give you an ownership stake. And I was like, cool, let's do that. So I started doing taxes and everything. I was like, you know what? I can get used to this. I can be the CFO for a company. I can do the taxes for a company. So I got very early, like deep, very, very early in the game. And then I started doing it for friends, family, just getting a love. I did it for free, by the way. So just getting that love and passion for that. And before I left PricewaterhouseCoopers, I had accumulated a client base of about 100 people. And for me, I never jump into any business full throttle without testing it and making sure that it works. I said, you know what? All I need is more time. As long as I have more time and I have the full dedication and passion behind this thing can really go forward.
Yeah, so you mentioned that when you were doing your research and you did some, I'm making up words, some practice taxes, you found it really difficult, but you stuck with it. What advice do you have for the audience, especially young people who are starting out in their career and finding the going a little challenging at first?
Yeah, so I'll just lay it out real simply. The 5 steps to starting any business. I call it the Badu 5-step model. First step is you have to identify a reason for the business. So some sort of passion, something that gets you going. And I feel like a lot of people now or today just don't do the things that get them going. They're doing things that are dreadful. They're doing things that quite frankly, they have no business doing, but they have to do it because that's what puts food on the table. That's what gets the kids in school. That's what gets them the car they want. So find that passion, that's something that really you enjoy doing. It could be photography, it could be art, it can be computers, it can be taxes, whatever it is, find that thing, practice it every day. Start practicing it every single day until you become the best at that and until you become very, very good. And while you're doing that, basically start doing research on building a business within that. So that's step 2 is do research. You can go online. You can get research in so many places nowadays. As you're doing your research, put together a business plan. What I did was I just pulled up a Word doc, just a Word document, and looked up business plan template. Started putting the key things: mission, vision, customer, target customer. I didn't even have the name of the company until 2016.
Is that step 3?
Yeah, so step 3 is building a business plan. And just, it's an everyday process. My business plan used to be 2 pages, now it's about 10 pages. It's just evolved over time. Doesn't have to be a big fancy document, just something simple that you can follow. My thing is all about simplicity. I love simplicity. You know, I try to keep things very simple, because the more complicated you make things, the more difficult it is, the more frustrated you become, and the more likely it doesn't get done. So for me, simple Word document. So that would be step 3 is the business plan. Step 4, this is the part a lot of people forget. You have to test the business plan on a few people. So for me, it was about 100 clients before I even got to launch the business, which is step 5. So test it out, make sure it works. If it doesn't work, tweak a few things until it does work, until you feel comfortable to make that jump. And then step 5, make the jump and launch the business. You know, so that's the 5-step model that I think anybody who's looking to get into business should follow. If you do, you have a much greater success rate of running that business.
Yeah, so earlier you spoke about the fact that you're scared of heights. Welcome to the club, so am I. And I have to imagine that, you know, leaving a secure job with a great company to go launch a business brings some amount of trepidation as well. How do you deal with fear, and how do you recommend, what advice do you have for people who may want to follow a similar path?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's you really have to be comfortable in everything you do. And I would say find your profound purpose in life. My purpose in life is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle. So for me, that's my exact purpose. I found that I discovered that purpose at the age of 16. However, it was refined when I was the age of 26, for example. So find that purpose. Your purpose in life is the reason for your existence, is the reason why you're on this planet. Once you find that purpose, find things that you can do so that you can fulfill that purpose. And take out anything that does not fulfill that purpose. So if it's a job that is just not adding any value to your life or to your purpose, you have to get rid of it. I'm sorry. You might have bills to pay and all that, but nowadays they have unemployment. They have stimulus programs, PPP loans. I mean, they have so much stuff out there that can help you get your business going. So what I would do is, here's what you can really do. Find that passion, find that purpose, find that something you can do on the side at least. So start doing it on the side. Maybe it's helping kids. Maybe it's doing photography, it's doing art, whatever it is. Find it on the side. And I actually have a book out right now called Infinite Expansion, How to Infinitely Expand Your Vision of Abundance. That can help take you through that mindset of somebody who might be stuck and just help them unleash their ability to create abundance. But overall, you really have to start doing something on the side. So if you have a full-time job, start doing something on the side, become comfortable with it, and then exit your full-time job. Start making income that can help replace your current income, or at least half of that, and then get out that full-time job. If you don't have anything right now, then start coming up with a business plan. Start coming up with something you really want to do, and start putting full effort into that. Focus is very important too. Make sure you focus on one thing at a time. For me, although I have 12 businesses now, I focused on one when I started, Badu Tax Services. I focused on that for about 6 months to a year, got really good at that before we moved into the real estate company. So focus on one thing, do something on the side if you got a full-time job, and then go full throttle.
Yeah, awesome. So now you're a multinational company, conglomerate, 12 companies, 15 countries. And I know you started talking about the financial services education that you provide. Can you expand on that a little bit more, the work that you do through the Badu Foundation?
Yeah, so the Badu Foundation is a 501c3, so it's a nonprofit financial literacy foundation currently based in Chicago. What we do is we provide financial literacy education and resources to youth between the ages of 6 through 18, and also people experiencing homelessness. What we do is we have a 4-week program for each group where we take them through, usually during the summer, for the kids, we go through topics such as saving, budgeting, investing, and also scholarships. And then for the homeless community, we go through topics such as saving, budgeting, investing. And with investing, we focus on real estate. And then we also cover things like credit management. So our goal is to teach kids what I didn't know when I was a kid. Saying that you can make money, you can get an allowance, but what can you do with that money to get more of it? And same thing with the homeless. How can we restore our lives? How can we restore everything that we've been through and make that better path for ourselves? So it's a very unique foundation. And we just did our first program this year. It was back in August. We actually did a 2-week fast track because some paperwork delays due to COVID-19 and everything like that. We can only do it for 2 weeks. And at the end, we give each student a scholarship of about $500 to a school of your choice. And then for the homeless, we'll come up with a stipend to give them so that they can get a jump start and keep everything going. So yeah, that's what we do. We provide financial literacy resources and education to the youth and the homeless group.
Indeed. Awesome work, Jeff. So remind us again of the title of your book and where can our viewers, listeners find it?
Yeah, so the title of the book is called Infinite Expansion, How to Infinitely Expand Your Vision of Abundance. You can find it on Amazon. You just search the title, you can search my name. And really it's a book that was ironically written before the pandemic, but it was great for the pandemic because it literally touched everything that somebody is going through right now in the pandemic. So it's one of those books that it was very timely. It was timely written and timely published. But it's a book about mindset. How do we tool your mindset? How do we tweak your mindset so that you're all about abundance and not scarcity mentality? So great book. You should check it out. Infinite Expansion, How to Infinitely Expand Your Vision of Abundance. You can find it right now on Amazon.
Wow, a timely book with a timely message, Jeff. And if someone wanted to connect with you, either because of your foundation work, or perhaps they'd like to engage your expertise as a tax professional, financial professional, how do they find you?
Yeah, so you can get on, basically my website is jeffbadu.com, jeffbadu.com. That's where you can find a lot of free resources and just stay up to date on what I'm up to. You can also reach out to me. My business line is 773-679-7198. Once again, 773-679-7198. You can shoot me an email at jeffbadu@gmail.com. If you want, I would say the website is probably the easiest way because it even has a contact section where you can contact me directly. So jeffbadu.com, jeffbadu.com is the best way to get to me.
jeffbadu.com. Jeff, your story is definitely an inspirational one, making your journey from, Ghana and West Africa to Upton and Chicago, part of a gang. And, as you said, you got lost, but found your way, and kudos to you. You're helping others to find their way again. So we appreciate the amazing example that you're setting for all of us, and for the inspiring keep on pushing life that you're living. Thank you for spending time with us. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you click on that subscribe button and hit that bell. You'll get a notification every time we post a new video. And don't forget, share it with your friends, man. They want to be inspired as well, right? So share it. Don't keep it. And before you go on to the next video, visit my website, www.devonharris.com. Keep on pushing.